I'm going to try to make a case now for despair. I have had the thought on my mind ever since I read or listened to a friend mentioning a sense of kind of a dark foreboding in their lives. And I noticed that I get comments about that a lot from people who comment me. And in my life, I've known a lot of people who have experienced it throughout life, including myself. Despair, a sense of unease, a sense of restlessness, seems to be a common feature of the adult human being, and sadly, in many cases, children as well. Now, despair may be too strong a word for what I want to say, and I haven't thought of one that was better yet. I thought of gloom or discontent or just simply dissatisfaction, but it's kind of a combination of all those. The emotion that I'm after may not quite be accurately labeled by any of those. I might have to come up with something better, but let me get on to the point. The point being that I've made a case in previous videos that all human emotions are nothing more than a trick of our minds to get us to behave in certain ways that are beneficial for us. Love and passion are a way to ensure that we mate and propagate. Fear and anger are ways to react to the environment in a protective or fight or flight manner. And if you go look through all the different emotions that we have, I think we'll find that they serve a useful tool. They're nothing. Do I dare say nothing? I think it is true. They're nothing to do with the wonders and the joys of our internal musings and our connections with others. It's all about reactions from the hard wiring within. I really do think that our emotions are really guides that show us the way. There and that are forged from past experience, the trial and error of the multitudes of past generations of the human species and even beyond. So let me get to the point. If I make that case, and if you just grant with me, whether you agree or not, just grant with me that that's the premise that I'm operating from, an unproven premise, then how about the emotion of despair? So many of us seem to experience it throughout life. This kind of long, we're kind of trudging through life, it's not always the kind. We have our ups and downs. It's like riding a raft on the sea. But for a lot of us, a lot of the period of life is kind of this trudging through life. I'm not so satisfied with my job. I wish I was a better person. I wish I could. I wish I hadn't said that thing to that person, or the whole list of stuff that we all have that mental, we keep in our minds to flog ourselves with once in a while, or just this dissatisfaction with this current circumstances. Why did I choose that degree to study in college? Why didn't I go to college? Why do I have that other friend? Why did I say that to my dad? It's kind of what it is. It's kind of a restlessness and a discontent towards our current circumstance, looking towards something else. Now, I think that has two benefits to every human animal. The first is that it tempers our emotions. If you guys see me, I'm kind of a hyperactive person, bouncing off and down, and I can tell you for certainty that I get my body and mind into more trouble when I'm in an energetic, joyful state than I do when I'm in just kind of having one of my days. I tend to, especially when I'm out hiking, when I'm all excited and thrilled, I come back with far more bruises and damage and blood lost than I do when I'm just kind of on a melancholy hike. I do have melancholy hikes. So I think that this tempered emotional state, if we were all running around, like kids all the time, we probably wouldn't survive that long. But by having a tempered emotional state that is drawn down a few notches, we tend to probably live our lives in a more careful and steadfast manner. And I think that's good for our survival. The second thing that despair does, and its kin emotions, if I can ever come up with a better word for than despair, the other thing that it does is it helps us to keep on the ready for a better circumstance. Now, I always like to think way back, way back to the old days when our ancestors were running around sort of the savannah, or even the wild man, basically living from day to day hunter-gatherer tribes. These people had to be forever ready for the next best thing. They were living hand to mouth, so to speak, and they needed to be ready to adapt to circumstances around them to enter into a better situation, find a better food source, avoid predators, avoid competing tribes of human beings, whatever the case may be. And being in this kind of a sense of melancholy, this isn't, what I've got is okay, but it ain't the best. is kind of the kind of thing that keeps your eyes open for something better. Now, if you're happy and content with what you've got, this is great. I really love what I've got. You're going to be kicking back, drinking a pina colada. Meanwhile, the Neanderthals are coming up from behind. So despair kind of keeps it, tones us down a little bit in terms of our emotions, but it also keeps us heightened in terms of finding something better. Now, I'll bet that was a superior way to think in the bad old days when we were getting our start as a species out and before this modern era. Now, in the modern era, with all of our safeties and precautions, at least in the first world, it's kind of a hassle to have this emotional baggage of despair and discontent because we don't need it as much anymore. We're safe now, so to speak, and we can get by. And so we all run around thinking, I've got to, most of us have it pretty good. If I'm speaking to you, if you're in the first world, you've got it better than the vast majority of all human beings on this earth. There's no reason why any of us should be less than perfectly content with our situation. For the most part, nearly every human being lives better than royalty, 2,000 years ago. I'm not speaking about the third world in that case. So for the most part, we have every reason to really be happy about our lives, but we persist in our sense of discontent. And I believe now that this is a premise, nothing more than just a simple premise, untested, unverified in any way. Just going to move forward with it now. I believe that this state that we feel, this sense of despair, this sense of discontent, this sense of curiosity for something better, and a lack of frustration and discontent of what we've got, is a very finely tuned survival emotion that helped our ancestors to live from day to day and keep their communities together in the old days of a hunter-gatherer period. And it's simply just like love, just like anger, just like frustration, and all those types of things, even hate, serves a very useful purpose. We are really nothing more than we are something more. We have this wonderful cerebellum that allows us to create poetry and paint pictures and ponder over the meaning of the universe. So there is something wonderful to that, and I think that is the case. But for the most part, a lot of what we are is simply a structure, a system for survival. And what we attribute to some of our better elements are nothing more than expressions of that. And I think that despair really doesn't need to be looked at as a symbol. When you're experiencing it, you don't need to think about it as, well, I have a sucky life. You simply have to realize, hey, this might be my body, my brain, my species' way of keeping me on edge and alive from day to day. Just another way of doing it. There you go, folks. Time for me to get some milk and make some food for my family. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Don't despair too much, but when you do despair, don't worry about it. It's just your body keeping you alive. Bye-bye.